1 in 4 marriages are abusive. This is also true for Christian marriages, which might shock a lot of people. I'm talking about the husband is abusive towards the wife. Marriage counselors and domestic violence counselors are missing the gap. They are missing that what actually presents maybe as a marriage problem or a communication problem is actually an abuse problem and a trafficking and exploitation risk. That's what we're talking about today. Hello, I'm Lisa Czak, founder and owner of Worthy Woman Healing Podcast, Worthy Woman Healing groups that meet twice a week, and Worthy Woman Healing retreats that we go on once a year in the Caribbean. So if you're interested in any of those, click the link below. I do have a free morning meditation for you. If perhaps you are in the middle of a very destructive marriage, or you just know that your husband's not treating you right, you can't make sense of things, you're confused, you are just in pain and seeing this weird cycle, knowing your marriage is not like other people's marriages, your friends' marriages, click the link below and my morning meditation will help you decide every day how you want to feel, no matter what your husband is doing or not doing. So today's episode is actually a presentation that I'm doing to marriage counselors and domestic violence counselors. And I'm talking about the vulnerabilities of women in abusive marriages to trafficking and exploitation. The number one thing that a married woman in an abusive relationship wants more than anything, that is just desperate to end it, meaning to end the pain, the confusion, the chaos, the cycle that she knows that she's stuck in. She wants a solution. And the dangerous reality that you as counselors and also trusted friends and family members need to be aware of is traffickers love to present themselves as the solution, as the end to the pain, to the agony, the suffering, the chaos, the confusion. They show up not in chains, they show up with charm. They say things like, if you were my wife, I would never treat you that way. I can't believe your husband is treating you this way. You'll always be safe with me. And to a woman who has endured abuse from the very person that God entrusted her to protect her, when that's happening and someone else shows up saying exactly what she's craving her husband to say, saying exactly, filling those gaps and those needs, those emotional needs, she thinks that this guy has just been plopped down from heaven, straight from God into her lap to rescue her, to be that knight in shining armor that she wants so bad for her husband to be. The only problem is, all this is another abuser that's entered her life. And in addition, a trafficker, another layer of abuse, manipulation, deception, exploitation, and now trafficking on top of it. Of course, she doesn't realize any of that. The second way that women in abusive marriages are extremely vulnerable is financially, because their abusive husband has control over the finances, or they're dependent upon their abusive husband for finances. The abusive husband may have cut off all resources to this woman. So the trafficker comes in again as that knight in shining armor, and he fills the gaps that the abusive husband has left this woman in. Maybe she does want to really leave this marriage, but she doesn't have money for a lawyer. Maybe it's not safe for her to live at home, but she has nowhere else to go and no money to go anywhere else. So the trafficker is saying things like, hey, I'll pay for the divorce. I'll pay all the legal fees. I'll take you. And if there's children at home, I'll take you and your children. I'll put you in a house. Your husband won't know where you are. You'll be safe with me. And this is fulfilling that financial need that she has. And it's a big vulnerability now that is being exploited by the trafficker. So not only is she being controlled financially by her abusive husband, in walks a trafficker, who of course she's not seeing as a trafficker. You are only as sick as your secrets. It is time to stop suffering in silence and join other women who are also on a healing journey, who are being raw, real, vulnerable, and honest with what they are going through in their life, what they have been through in their life. And wherever two or more are gathered, we know God is with us. It says it right there in the Bible. So there is power to group healing. Miracles happen in there. You have one woman sharing, opening up her heart. Suddenly everyone else in the group is saying, yeah, I've experienced that. I'm not the only one. There's such power in knowing that you are not alone in your suffering. You are not alone in your healing. And we meet twice a month. And in between those times, a lot happens, right? And it's important that you have time in between the sessions to practice the healing technique that I teach you, so you can come back into the group and celebrate with the other women. Hey, I actually remembered to do the healing technique in that moment. That trigger didn't derail me anymore. But it's practice. I'm also a personal trainer, right? You don't just get a six-pack abs by doing one sit-up. You have to keep doing it over and over again. You don't run a marathon. You don't go out and run 13.1 miles for a half marathon the first time, right? You practice running a little bit every day. And that is what we do in Worthy Woman Healing Group. Join today and tell yourself, I'm going to give this a 3-month commitment minimum, because I know I need time to practice outside of these sessions, and come in and get guidance from the other women on how to actually heal all of these wounds, heal my mind, body, and soul one trigger at a time. You are worth it. The third way that married women in abusive marriages can be very vulnerable is that the trafficker knows something that you as counselors don't realize, that family, friends, that the woman in the situation doesn't even realize, that married women in abusive relationships are the perfect victim, the perfect victims. I put that in quotes because that's actually a quote from a trafficker. That they're the perfect victims because they will keep their mouths shut. Why will they keep their mouths shut? This is the trafficker's view. Because they have so much more to lose. They have children. Their identities are tied to their children, their churches, their children's schools, their ministries they might be in, the marriage, the husband. They have much more to lose, so they can leverage that. They can use that against the woman. They will actually use the abusive husband as a weapon, as leverage. You don't want to go back to him, do you? I'm providing all of this for you. Why do you want to go back to him? And if the woman starts feeling like this trafficker, not realizing he's a trafficker, it's just not right, he'll say things like that. He's just gonna hurt you again. He's just gonna cut you off again. You don't want to go back to that. And so now she has this dependency and further isolation that she's dealing with this trafficker. And the fourth way that married women in abusive situations are vulnerable to trafficking and exploitation is that when they first come to you as a counselor, or maybe they're coming to you as a trusted friend or family member, and you're saying things like, well, it's a marriage problem. It's a communication problem. Marriages go through ups and downs. And the husband may have been the one to book the appointment for marriage counseling. This is very common where abusers book the appointment, and it confuses not just the woman that's being abused, but it confuses the people that are supposed to be helping her, the helping professionals. And as a counselor, you might be saying, well, he booked the appointment and, he wants help. And there does seem to be a big communication problem happening here. And what's really happening is the woman is feeling less and less validated in her experience. And the trafficker comes along and says, for the first time maybe ever, hey, you're being abused. That a-hole is abusing you. He's abusive. That's abusive what he's doing. And it might be the first time this woman has heard that word. She has a name to put to the chaos and confusion that she's feeling within her marriage, which further bonds her to the trafficker. And so the main takeaway for counselors and also family members and friends is when a woman is coming to you and saying, this is what's going on in my marriage, and seeing it for what it is, saying, this might not be a communication problem. This might not be a marriage problem. This is an abuse problem and a trafficking risk. Remember, you are worth it.